Will moon season begin soon? Every asset's risk is about to skyrocket because the Federal Reserve just sent out a warning. As a result, the masterminds behind the current financial system will turn millions of people like you become billionaires or perhaps trillionaires. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, according to Justin of Watts, your guru, could need to decrease interest rates given the current state of affairs. Yesterday, we see a wild candle because of these guys. It appears like they are fully prepared to begin cutting in September. A majority of 75% believe the Fed will lower rates, while 25% indicate they will not. I think they'll be able to cut. I perceive the impending arrival of a black swan, which leads me to believe that. You guys are going to see this through to the conclusion. Very well. Allow us to pretend for a moment that XRP aims for the next level of growth, say about 10%. The black one will be cut very deeply before beginning the process all over again. The one who creates money. The actual moonrise occurs here, when people get extremely well off in this area. Every asset will increase in value, so you'll likely keep your phone next to you while you sleep, but you might not even get any sleep. To be clear, I'm not merely chit-chatting. I will now speak. In Chad, the bomb will detonate. U.S. citizens now have greater disposable income than in the past. Check it out. In 2020, the U.S. has more money in circulation. The stock increased in value from approximately 15.5 trillion to approximately 200 trillion just before this point. Very well. Precisely 6 trillion. Can you tell me when you first realized what had happened? That unexpected incident that caused global shutdown and subsequent printing of so much that it was insane, wasn't it? Something similar is likely to occur here in the near future. There will be a deluge of new money into the markets as they print 1030 trillion in the coming months. Very well. I agree with you that this is likely the final run before the crash because they can't keep repeating it over and over again. Eventually, a change will break. Now, though, comes our time to become filthy rich. Okay. Since it is simple to earn money but more difficult to retain it, you should exercise caution after you amass a substantial amount of it. Listen, I'm not fibbing. Okay. I mean, come on. Folks could get greedy if that happens. After that, you will lose all your money if you try to invest in something else when its value is at its peak and then it drops. Let's move step by step for the time being. The markets will be flooded with a massive influx of capital all of a sudden. We may have to determine what transpired initially, though. Well, perhaps next month or in October, there will be a black swan incident. Markets seem to have forgotten that the height of the dot-com boom and the Great Recession coincided with the start of the Fed's reducing cycle. This time is obviously different. Okay, guys, I want to tell you what happens when the Fed cuts interest rates. There is an issue or a benefit and a drawback with this. Now we'll examine the other side of the argument, but ultimately I believe it's fantastic. This is the interest rate at which the Federal Reserve lends money, and the first scenario occurred in the year 2000. Very well. Next, the cutting cycle started and the men got to work. That was the apex for sure. Very well. The stock market index in question was the S&P 500. A decline in the Dow Jones seemed obvious. It was clear they were cutting corners if this was going down. The summit was held. Put simply, is that correct? They denote the peak of the entire stock market, which is naturally related to the currency market due to their interconnected funding. Will cryptos experience the same downturn as stocks did, since the same people do the money laundering in these regions? All right, everyone, it was time to begin chopping. We pooped. The summit was marked. After then, 2008 arrived. The real estate market crashed. How did this occur? They began to cut right here. Guys, that is when it showed up. Remind me, wasn't it the same thing? It was yet another dress. That's the drawback of interest rate cuts by the Federal Reserve, isn't it? By the way, did you guys know that the Fed has already cut rates here? Despite what some individuals said or implied, you may observe that they maintained the same interest rates even though the markets were rising. It seems like things might be different this time, doesn't it? In an effort to speculate, when the BC Backers video was shot, I did catch him saying, probably earlier today, expecting the market to reach its high is futile because doing so is quite unlikely. However, he did say that a date around September 22nd would be reasonable if I had to choose. It's interesting because the 17th of September is really close to the 22nd. Put another way, the potential short-term peak might be reached in just 25 days. Why? The markets went absolutely bonkers following the cut, dudes. You can't miss September, therefore we will dump as September arrives in this condition. On the other hand, the pattern is visible on each subsequent pump. This pump will undoubtedly propel it to unprecedented heights. Why? Because the accident won't appear till after that. This must be the final production run before the stock microphone hits a 10-year naked market. Digital currencies differ. The stock market, equities, and cryptocurrency will progressively drift apart. All right, the ones that are really helpful, like XRP, is the next step clear now. September is here. I believe that September is when we were at our best. October, probably September is here. In October or towards the end of the month, there's a crease that always look for ways to get things at a discount. We want to generate revenue between the months of September and October. We buy everything during the black swan, which is when prices are cheap. The white one happened earlier today. Quite a few excellent. I sensed an impending event. At times, I might simply experience of things. The black zone will unleash a flood of bargain prices on all goods. Is it clear? A financial frenzy is imminent. There will be a meteoric rise in the markets. Lastly, we withdraw our funds the moment a tulip bubble emerges. However, XRP is unconventional, therefore things are different with it. Ultimately, I believe utility coins will prevail when all other options are exhausted. In that future age, the solution will lie with whatever coin survives. When this new age begins, all assets will be in a different state from this one. Raw market, With the exception of these digital assets known as utility tokens or currencies such as XRP, not every technology will see a bull market. I predict this one will. It is imminent. Stagflation will occur as a result of the Fed's upcoming rate cuts. So what the result is that interest rates, which will be decreased in response to growing prices in a less robust labor market. If you do not possess any assets, you will be left behind. Yes, we've been anticipating for quite some time, so let's get ready, everyone. A lot of long-awaited plans are finally coming to fruition in unison. Indeed, this is the hilarious part. Cointelegraph gives it a positive review. Cryptocurrency accounts for almost 5% of the portfolios of Chinese family offices outside of China, according to UPS, a Swiss investment bank. Cryptocurrency is clearly desired by the Chinese people. That's illegal. But you won't believe what China confessed on tape. Well, we're considering the possibility of reintroducing a stable coin backed by the yuan, or at least exploring the idea blockchain technology will put them at rest, technologies in the near future. At long last, they're going to abandon cryptocurrency. Any guesses as to when that happens? It was perhaps when all the flowers were in vogue. Very well. In case you were unaware, this occurred simultaneously with our call for the move up. I thought that was fascinating. After China unbans cryptocurrencies and prints money, the market will be flooded with pursers before XRP collapses. My opinion is that way. Very well. Yet again, cryptocurrency is in high demand. Think about it. 5% is really insane. I see it's not excessive, but you know something is up when you're willing to stake 5% of your wealth on cryptocurrency when these folks are millionaires. Put simply, it denotes their optimism. It appears that John Powell has lost interest. Powell claims the Fed is no longer establishing a rigorous target of 2% inflation, according to the Bitcoin database. This could be due to some hidden agenda. They intend to allow inflation to reach extremely high levels. Maximize your Bitcoin holdings. Inflation targeting a sustained level of about 2% over the long term is no longer considered a goal, according to Powell, who said that the Fed has adopted a new approach. So skipping the trimming entirely was pointless, right? I find myself in agreement with Trump on this matter. Trump informs Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell that lowering interest rates is futile at this point. A year ago, he could have trimmed them, but he didn't. He ought to have chopped them here ages ago, dudes. Interestingly, Trump has recently stated that Jerome Powell is arriving too late. Do you mean that name? He clarified, though, that he was actually claiming to be the Federal Reserve Chairman. Rate cuts have been excessively made by the Fed. We've missed our chance. Why, though, does he say that? Perhaps he anticipates the arrival of a black swan. Perhaps it explains it. Great, so I guess we can go on to XRP. It was XRP, I could tell, or the divergence is not really mind-boggling. The 4 hours were indeed held. That's insanity. Please examine this.